All right. Yeah, very good. Little royal music for the exalted one, Dean Watson of Buckingham Palace Audio. Ego and Vice, episode 106.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.
Born and raised in South Bay, lower class punk ass, I was Northwood grade. I had it made. Spent my nights drinking with my mates. Just a short bus ride up to PA. Red River Red. Then I hit the wall and I knew I had to bounce. They still say that 19 years ago. Well, I got the hell out. From time to time you may see me hanging around. Now I feel like a stranger in this town. Crossing roads is where I learned to play. Westwood Tavern's where I learned to walk.
Hey, this is Mike. This is Ego and Vice. This is episode 106. How's everyone doing today? I'm doing really good. I'm on a new medication. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's making me feel a little bit better than I was feeling before. How's about that? I have a show coming up this Thursday at a local venue, an Ask-A-Punk venue called The Womb. It is the proprietor of that fine establishment, the owner-operator, if you will, is a really, really good friend of mine. Her name is Sarah Destruction. That's how I know her, as Sarah Destruction, but you may know her formally as Miss Sarah Gott. She's a wonderful person, a good friend, an awesome musician, and she's a visionary. She has created The Womb in Ottawa. It's an Ask-A-Punk venue, you know what I mean? Like, the city has so many like bigger commercial venues, and you need the Ask-A-Punk venues, the house venues. And she has turned it into somewhat of she calls it a safe space community center, which I think is awesome. And anybody can go and check out awesome live music, local music, in a safe environment, without the confines of the bar establishment. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Support local bars. But every once in a while, you just want to hang out with your buds kind of in a neutral spot, and these Ask-A-Punk venues are for that. Right? Do you know what Ask-A-Punk means? It's that she doesn't post her address because it's her home, right? You have to ask a punk or ask somebody. You can DM somebody, or it's more of a word-of-mouth thing. And that is the true DIY spirit of music, of the city, of the scene, if you will. Not just punk rock either, you know what I mean? Like, I love that DIY spirit where it's just down, nitty-gritty dirt, blood, sweat, and tears, word of mouth, word on the street, posters on the poles. The way it should be. The way it started. The way it's trying to hold on. I don't know. You know, everything gets so commercialized and everything gets so samey. You know what I mean? Where it's like, there's so many marketing is just it's the way people market things, I think, and it's just like they find something that works and they stick to it. That's why everything starts to kind of feel the same and sound the same and look the same, and it's because the way it sells, I guess. I don't know. I think I believe I like the DIY. I like it a little rough around the edges. You know what I mean? I like my podcast. I like Ego and Vice that it's just kind of a from the hip kind of a show. I don't have a set time. I don't have a schedule. I don't have to release episodes every Wednesday afternoon or something like that. I do it when I want to do it. I do it when I feel like doing it. I have the people on. I feel like having it on. I've never made a dime doing it. After 6.5 years, obviously that's not the point of doing it. The point is to just give back to the community, to the scene that has given me so much over the last 25 years of being a part of it. Right? That's why I love playing the house venues, and I'm really, really looking forward to playing this one. So if you want send a message to egoandvice@gmail.com, and I'll send you the address, and you can come watch us play. And I'm not allowed to say it because it's a surprise, so I'm not going to say it. But there's a punk rock legend, in some circles, punk rock legend, playing that show. I've played with him before, and it's going to be good to see him, and it's going to be a really fun night out. So support local music, even if it is the bare bones DIY stuff, because that's the stuff that has the heart. Don't be samey. Don't just buy something that's marketed all slick and fancy, because it all just sounds the same. It all just looks the same. Be different. Take chances. You know? And you never know. You never know. Anyway, thank you. This is Ego and Vice, episode 106. I have a very special guest on today. His name is Dean Watson. He is the owner-operator. That's the second time I've said owner-operator today. But anyway, it doesn't matter. He is of Buckingham Palace Audio. It is a recording studio here in the greater OTA. He's also a musician, and he is the bass player for the amazing, fast-rising, super talented, exciting new band, the Escape Society. I tried to have Dean on, I don't know, a few months ago, and for some reason we just kind of lost touch. We lost communication problem, if you will. We're getting old, I guess. I don't know. But no, we're busy people, right? We're very busy. So we reconnected, and we blamed each other. I said, "That's your fault." No, he said, "No, it's your fault." And I said, "Very good." No, we didn't do that, but it doesn't matter. We got him. We got Dean on. And I'm going to play a tune, and I'm going to come back with, as I said in the intro, the Exalted One, His Majesty of Buckingham Palace Audio, Dean Watson. Ego and Vice, episode 106.
1, 2.
Hey, we're back. This is Ego and Vice, episode 106. I am here with the proprietor, the engineer, the producer of Buckingham Palace Audio, Dean Watson. I know that we tried to do this a couple of months ago, and I have no idea what happened.
That was probably me, and I apologize. I got whomped.
I'll definitely take some blame for that too. I have I have trouble organizing things at times. That's why I only release a podcast every 2.5 weeks. I want to do every week, but it's because I forget to do them. So anyway, but I'm glad that I got you here today, and it was super fun to run into you at Hope Volleyball, but I didn't talk to you then because you guys were busy just finishing your first show As
Yeah.
the Escape Society, how was Hope this year from that point of view? I watched you guys. You guys were awesome.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, it was fun. It was, I mean, it was a bit nerve wracking as any new thing is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a trial by fire. We rehearsed a bunch for it, but it was for me it was nerve wracking because I hadn't actually played live since 2012
Okay.
as a part of a project that I am involved with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've occasionally backed up some people I've made records for, but that's kind of like fallen by the wayside more and more. So being on stage for the first time in over a decade was weird.
Were you nervous? Were you nervous leading up to it?
Of course, man. I like being the wizard behind the curtain. That's more my speed, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Being on stage, like a lot of people kind of find it funny, but I'm fairly introverted actually,
Okay.
and a lot of people don't think that I am because the nature of my job is I have to kind of be on and talk to people. But no, like when it comes to performing, the rest of the band are all showboats, and I'm like, hope my knees don't buckle out of nerves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. And I understand the introverted thing too. It's just I just don't like a lot of people. I don't like crowds and stuff like that. I just, I don't consider myself introverted, but I get it. But I understand how you're comfortable because it's your environment. Like people come into your studio and that's the role, right? That's where you're comfortable. But yeah, after what, 20 or no, 11 years not being on stage. Yeah, you guys killed it. And I'm Jay Watts. I've known him forever. We've been through so many crazy adventures together in music and in life and stuff like that. So I support anything he does, and it's so good just to see him going. And I know the mighty Scott Norris. I've known him for quite a while, but you and Troy are kind of new to my to getting to know you guys. So and Troy was on the podcast, and it was great getting to know him, and I'm super happy to have you on. I've kind of completed the circle here with the Escape Society, I think, right? So
Yeah, we're all busy guys in the music industry on our own, right? Like individually. So I don't know. It's kind of one of the fortes of the band. It's everybody has like a niche that they're filling within the project itself at large.
For sure.
Yeah.
We will touch on the Escape Society a bit more, but Buckingham Palace Audio, is that the correct term for it?
Technically, I guess.
I guess that's your baby, right? This is who you are. This is who he is. So let's talk about that a little bit. So I know you used to do something in kind of center Ottawa, like in more of Centertown.
Yeah, I had a studio in the Glebe from 2005 and it was basically 13 years, the end of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And I was basically right at the corner of Bank and Fifth Avenue, almost.
Mm-hmm.
So off of Bank Street a little bit. I was in a church. I somehow lucked into it. I used to run a record label, and we took our roster to Australia for 3 months and toured.
Nice.
And when I got back, I didn't have a place to live or a job.
What was the label called?
It was at the time. This was it ran from 2002 to 2004. It was called Cocky Records.
Nice.
It was born I keep going backwards. I attended Fantasy College with a good friend of mine, Corbin Fox, who's a producer out in Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
We attended that together, and then we just decided to start a label to release the music that we were making at the time in Southern Ontario. And then from there, we had the Australian tour, and I was kind of working out of Ottawa. I had a house in the Glebe that I was renting with a couple of other musicians and my brother, who was also me. And we just I gave up that studio, and when I came back, I just found this place where this guy he was like, my church group's giving me a place to build a studio. So I was like, well, I got all the gear in storage. So it ended up panning out really well, and he kind of disappeared after about 6 months, and I expected it to be an interim kind of development,
right?
But we ended up being there for 13 years.
Wow.
In the heart of downtown Ottawa, and I had a big gallery space. I call it the gallery because why not? I had a baby grand piano and a room with 25-foot ceilings, and it was pretty amazing.
To get started in were you like an active musician first who eventually started getting behind the scenes, or did you start as kind of a producer engineer? Were you always wanting to be you called yourself kind of the behind the scenes guy for the last 11 years, and like how did that transition Like when you were a kid, did you want to like say, I'm going to grow up and record music?
No, I wanted to be a rock star,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Well, don't we all?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. No, I started off as a bassist early high school, playing in mostly one band all of high school, early 90s.
Mhm.
You know, grunge was big and it was kind of a grunge knockoff, Alice in Chains knockoff band, that kind of thing.
I miss the 90s.
Yeah, there was a lot of good
I do miss the 90s anyway. I'm sorry.
absolutely. No, I mean, yeah, it's like that's kind of where I started, and um, that band kind of existed in various incarnations
Mm.
for a good while, anyway. Like once we graduated high school, we had personnel changes, but we ended up touring it for a couple of years, like just doing national tours back and forth. Went out a lot, and then it eventually, like I ended up leaving the band and not really having anything to do. At the time I had knee surgery, so I
Uh-oh.
was housebound for 3 months without, like, couldn't walk or do anything. I was 20 years old, and I ended up buying a cassette 4-track. And my brother had a drum kit. I had a couple of microphones, and I just started using it and getting to know it. I had no one else to play music with,
Sure.
kind of, you know. And it went from there. I started making demos for people on a cassette 4-track,
Yeah.
which were great, not knowing even what half the buttons did, you know.
That
And
you know what? Now it seems funny nowadays because it's just like it's so easy to well, not easy, but you can just go out with like a computer and buy something to record music, or you can turn on your voice recorder on your phone and be like record something, right? The 90s were like when I started playing music, and there was a guy that was driving around Canada in his van. His name was Simon Head. Have you ever heard of Simon Head?
no.
And he was like putting like flyers and stuff, like he just word of mouth, like he was like, I'll record you for like $300 or something like that. And it was the most unbelievable thing. Like you can actually get recorded, because all we could really do at the time was like put your cassette in your ghetto blaster and hit play and record, and the little speaker and stuff. So when you're talking about buying like 4-tracks or 8-tracks and stuff, you were like a valuable guy back then, for sure.
This was probably around 97. So I had been doing music since the early 90s, and I think my first band started in 92 or something like that. I graduated school in 95, high school. So yeah, you know, we toured for a couple of years and I started doing that stuff. But yeah, so you're from the same generation as me. You've aged very well, monsieur.
I get that a lot. I always say because we're allowed to do this now, I identify as 41. Let's just say that.
Oh.
How many years have I been on the planet? Probably longer, but that's fine.
Oh, exactly.
That's fine.
I don't think I made it past 18, bro.
Oh, okay. Well, I gotta be realistic, because they'll be like, you look young, but you don't look that young. Anyway, but yeah, thank you very much. I get that a lot. Yeah, no, it's just 90s was a huge influence for me, and I started in like punk bands because I was just like a singer, right? And I eventually picked up the guitar just like everyone does and did the one string, bong, 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 and then I just kind of self-taught myself throughout my life, and here I am now. But yeah, I've had a lot of studio visits over the years, and from doing that studio out of the guy's van who just kind of plugged in some like DAT recordings and stuff, to going to big studio. Do you remember Sound of One Hand Studio in Ottawa?
Of course.
That was like in the early 2000s. We paid like $1 million to go in there and record like 3 songs just off the floor.
Yeah.
And then ever since about 2004, I've been going up to Pembroke. I think you were just there up at Skylark Park. I saw the Escape
Jordan.
Society did some video stuff up there with Jordan Zadarozny. So he's my guy. He's my guy for studio. But I'm meeting some awesome people through the podcast over the last like 5 years, like Cameron Dunn from Hillside Audio, you from Buckingham Palace Audio, and it's amazing. You know, it's just, I love that there's places to go and get, and the product that comes out is awesome, and working with awesome people. So I apologize, I went on my little rant there, but
hey, man.
So as you got going in I guess past 97, it just got bigger and bigger, the recording part of it, or?
Well, what happened? Jeez, it feels like another life ago, somebody else's life. Yeah, I started just like doing the 4-track stuff, recording myself a bunch. And when I left that one band I was in touring with, I figured, well, I guess that was that, and I'll go to university. And I ended up going to Carleton for anthropology because I'm a science nerd and history nerd and all that stuff, and I love that.
Very good. Very good.
So I studied that for like 3 years, and I found myself like caring less and less and spending more and more time in a dirt floor basement of a house that I was renting in Centertown.
Mm-hmm.
I was always just working until all hours of the night, not caring about the schoolwork so much and just making records, right?
Right.
Early adopter too. Around that time, I paid an exorbitant amount of money for a really terrible, like a PC tower. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, I can make music on this and not have to worry about buying cassette tapes.
Wow.
Yeah, I figured that out. So I don't know. You must know Phil Bova, senior or junior. Do you know those guys?
Maybe.
No, they're like an institution in Ottawa. They're old friends at this point. Like the first recordings I was ever doing in high school.
Okay.
Phil Senior has been doing this. He used to run ambient sound. I forget what it's called, but I think he's been doing it since the '70s, early '70s.
Okay.
And then it's Phil Jr. and he's a mastering engineer. He's a really fantastic mix and master engineer. Anyway, Phil basically he used to live around the street from me in Centertown at the time, and he's like, I can show you what to do. So I'd bought this audio card and I had no idea about anything. So he came over and he showed me actually how digital audio, like the very baby steps of getting it going. And then from there, I just didn't really look back. I just kind of kept doing it. At one point I was heading to school and I stayed up all night working on things and making whatever track I was working on in my basement. Dirt floor too. I remember that distinctly. There was like centipedes everywhere and had my gear down there and all my crappy gear at the time. And
atmosphere.
Yeah, I ended up calling my dad and I'm like, I kind of realized like I didn't care about the ivory tower academic side of things, you know? And so I met with my dad that day and then he basically like just had a heart to heart and he was like, why don't you just take the time off and you know, pursue that for a while? You know, it was a few months later, my friend Corwin, he was living out west. He came back to visit and we just kind of like decided at the time, we're like, well, why don't we try and apply to Fanshawe together?
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting in. So I just went down. He joined me and we had a really great time down there, learned a lot. We were a few years older too, because we weren't the age of the people coming straight out of high school. We were a good 4 years older than the majority of the cohort.
Yeah.
So, and we had been technically professional musicians a little bit, touring together and whatnot. So I don't know. I got a lot out of it down there. I invested a lot of time. It's kind of one of those things where you get out of it what you put into it. And I put a lot of energy into making sure I was always available for whoever asked me to be a session player or just to be in the studio as much as I could for the 2 years I was there. Yeah. I don't know why I'm saying that.
No, it's good. It's very interesting. It's super interesting. I've never taken a guitar lesson in my life. I've never taken a music lesson. I can barely read music. But I can work my way around and I've developed my own kind of thing, right? Which is me. Like I always said in my band, nobody plays my songs better than me. Like I suck at playing cover songs, but is it the same for music production? Because I'm not at any level. Like I do a little thing with my podcast and my little software here and I can get by. Is the mark of a really good producer and or engineer, do you have to go to school for that or can you just figure it out on your own?
Honestly, 90% of my skill set, probably more than that, has been doing it, not learning it. It was nice to be down there. You made good connections. A lot of the people I went to school with are still working professionally in the industry, after some fashion. But you leave there, you get some knowledge, but it's kind of more you get used to doing it all the time. You fall into that way of life. It's a lifestyle. Like you really learn that it's a lifestyle. Right. You have to invest a lot into it. And in my early years of doing it, it doesn't leave a lot of time for other things. You sacrifice an awful lot in order to get established. And I'm either stupid or tenacious or both. So yeah. But it's definitely, you learn it a lot on your own. And the kids these days, I'm talking like I'm 80, but I've been doing it long enough. I guess I can say that now. But they have this awesome resource of YouTube, and that didn't exist. Not
Right.
in the capacity it does now. Like you can go on. I'll do it if I'm looking for like a technique or whatever it is I need to like pony up on. Boom,
Hmm.
you can figure it out. It's
Anything. There's a video about anything you need.
yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. Do you, as you were going through the course of like, obviously, in life, the more you do things, the better you get at them.
Unless you're a
Um,
complete idiot. But yes, generally.
well, I guess that's the natural progression of things, right? You're supposed to actually get better. But in the early days, do you ever listen back to like some of the stuff you recorded and just like, is it still good to you, or or do you kind of like, oh my,
Rarely.
yeah,
Rare. There is one record. It was a Toronto band. I knew the drummer. You know, I
yeah,
went to school in the fan shop. Aiden Campbell was his name. Fantastic musician, and we were just decent friends. So he came up from down there. He recorded this band called Mad Cow Gravy on 8-track reel to reel, and he had me. I think mostly mastering it, a tiny bit of mixing on it.
Mhm.
And to this day, I will still listen to that record. There's something magical about whatever they managed to capture, and nothing ever happened with the record, obviously. But it's something I will. Oh, it's one of my. If every time I've moved, it's one of the first records I put on in the house.
Really.
Yeah, it just has a je ne sais quoi to it. That
Just sets the tone, eh? Or it's
it
gonna.
could be where I was at in my career and life at that point in time, and
Mhm.
it's a product that turned out really well. So I always want to revisit it. Maybe it helps me understand where I've come from or how long ago it was or how far I've personally come. But
Yeah.
it's just a fantastic record. Anyhow, most of the stuff I have a hard time. Like once things leave the nest, I I am usually moving on to the next thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. You don't want to dwell on it too long. That one record what is it called? Mad Cow Gravy.
Mad Cow Gravy, yeah.
As you listen to it over the years, do you remix it in your brain? Like,
No,
no, it is what it is.
it
It's
is what
perfect
it
the
is.
way it is. Oh, that's awesome, man.
I like that though. You know, like they say, like great art's only abandoned. It's never completed. And
Fair
like
enough.
honestly, I feel that way about every single record I've ever made. It's like you wish you would have more time to complete something, but you have to work within the confines of the time and budget you're given, and and then eventually it has to you have to move on, and it has to be birthed. You know.
My problem is that I always said, like, I always wanted to be the talent. I never thought about getting into like production and engineering because I'm like I have to I ask questions like how do you stop yourself when you have like I can see your studio behind you, and if you're writing and recording your own stuff, like how do you not make it turn into like Guns N' Roses Chinese Democracy, where it's like
Oh,
$13 million and 8,000 layers of it? Like, how does it end?
well, I don't have $13 million, but
Well, you don't need it because it's well, yeah,
man,
yeah, I
I
guess
have
so.
tracks that I just finished a track that I started in 2000.
Uh-huh.
I,
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
it's, honestly, it surfaced during the pandemic. I had a lot of time, and I wasn't slaving away day to day working for clients because the world ended. So I
Right.
had the time. I kind of opened up really old hard drives I hadn't touched or whatever it was, and I kind of I happened upon a treasure trove of abandoned projects.
Mm-hmm.
There was this one that I remember. I started it, I think, 2 months after I got to Fanshawe. So it was in 2000, the first apartment I had down there. And it just dawned on me, well, there's just like a bit of a spark in this thing. And it was like 22 years later, 23 almost, I put the time in and I brought it along until it's finished. And it's
Wow.
remarkably different. But yeah, I
Well,
get fall down that rabbit hole of not completing things, but mostly for myself, right? Because I have the
yeah,
luxury of sitting with it.
that's what I was talking about too, and I have the utmost respect for the skill. I think it is a skill. Like when we're talking about guys like Jordan up in Pembroke, who has the studio at his means, and he still writes and records and releases his own tunes. Or another friend of mine named Doug Hempstead from Area Resident, who just writes tons of songs, but they are able to release it. And you do that as well, where you can kind of say, I could add anything I want to this,
Hmm.
but I say it's done. Here it is. And you release it. I think that's amazing. I think it's amazing because I don't think I could do it. I would just never finish anything ever.
It's working, understanding where you can like place your own limitations, like limitations upon the project or.
What are those?
Yeah, well, now with computers, you can do anything. Just today, I'm working with a fantastic artist named Erin Saoirse Adair.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working with her on and off since about 2010 in various states of whatever she's been working on. We had a lot of success with her early records too, but she's just finishing up her doctorate, and she's like, "Oh, I want to, revisit some stuff that was never completed."
Oh.
So I actually went through hard drives from as far back as 2010,
wow,
fishing out all these unfinished projects, right? And yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like we had to start putting limitations on what we're going to do with things, because I don't know, with the software now, I was able to extract, what was it? A piano. Sorry, there was a song that we tried doing twice, 2 years apart, in different keys and different tempos.
Okay.
I'm able to like take both of those elements from like whatever we need from each one of those versions and stick them together and edit it, and it's actually sounding great.
Awesome.
But there's no limitations there. It's kind of like you got to be really careful because you can always fall down that rabbit hole and never complete anything.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
What we're talking about.
I get it. And I don't know, when you say hard drives from like 2010 too, it's just you have just so much catalog, like it's just all there, right? And you can go back to it, revisit it whenever you want, which is so cool about technology nowadays, right? And you just, if you have your own studio. And so you do Buckingham Palace audio full-time. You're a full-time engineer producer.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've been full-time since 2004, really, like since I moved back to Ottawa.
Amazing. So can I ask a question? Probably a pressing question is, how did the guys in Escape Society get you on that stage?
Well, I wanted to do it.
It was time. The stars aligned, did they?
Yeah. Well, like Troy and I think he might have touched on this when you guys were talking about Escape Society on the podcast, but he and I, we just happened to be trolling the same person online.
Okay.
It's kind of a crap story. Like we're wonderful people, but somebody had posted something asinine, and we both just trolled the crap out of this poor woman.
Right.
And we both got hate mail from her. And then I just messaged him privately. I'm like, "Yo, dude, this like person freak out on you?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then we just started talking online, and we worked a little bit on a project of mine a few years like before the pandemic had started. Decided, like, he came over, we hung out, we listened to each other's unfinished demos from various eras of our careers. We just started poking away at a lot of Troy's stuff, because there's a lot of like coherence to his music, to his song. So yeah, so when it came time, that was about a year ago, this past July, and I had no idea how far it would take me. We played one show, but I didn't know what would come of it. And
what a show!
It was fun.
That was a good show, man.
I never played. I've known Jay since the Café de Cuff days, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, like I've seen Our Mistake play.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I played in that era. I was in a band called Seismic.
Okay,
and
yeah.
Do you remember a band called Lure? L-U-R-E?
Lure. No,
yeah,
not totally.
Kind of like we didn't take ourselves too seriously, but people dug us, so it was a lot of fun. But we played DeCuff a lot in those times.
Yeah, that was the spot, right? The original DeCuff. I don't know what it is now, but I think it's like anyway.
Yeah.
So so was it when you? I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like the origins. Like, was it not so much of the Escape Society, but when you said, "I might be in this band." when did it become not just a project in the studio? It's like, I'm in the band.
That happened.
Yeah.
Well, Troy brought in Scott, and he played a bunch of guitar. No, actually, I think we did Jay first for a couple of songs on drums, and then Scott came in and did it. So I kind of got reacquainted with Jay, and then Scott. The first time I met Scott was we were doing a photo shoot for the band.
Okay. Oh yeah.
basically,
Crazy,
hi, I'm
eh?
Dean, hi, I'm Scott, and then we were standing next to each other in the band photos. So
I love it. That's
it was
hilarious.
kind of awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
And Scott, the way I always describe that guy is it's like his first time through the universe. He's like gung ho and on board with doing anything.
He's the mighty Scott Norris.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I call him.
Yeah.
He's a big galoot. Seems like you and Troy get along really well musically. How has that relationship evolved?
We've become really great friends since starting this project. Moving in the same direction, and we're both willing to try and have fun doing new things. And he's done that. He's played on at least one of my songs, and it put new life into it as well. And the Escape Society, obviously, like we're nearing completion on that record too. So,
do you perform your stuff?
Not really, no.
Are you going? Are you going to be now that you got the bug? No.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I got the bug, but I kind of see there's a value to it. You need to do it.
Yeah.
You can't hide forever, not participate forever.
For sure.
I have to do it for 25 years or whatever it is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it would be fun. Like do you know Mike Giambardino?
I'm awful with names, but maybe not.
Mike G, Simon Sadchuk, Nick Miller. We've been kind of working on a lot of my stuff for quite some time, actually.
Yeah.
And it's kind of coming to fruition, and they're all really great players in their own right. Nick is actually he tours with a lot of like metal bands throughout the States and whatnot. Unleash the Art. Yeah. Anyway, so it will see the light of day, and it will be performed live eventually.
Awesome. That's exciting. Well, I gotta say that the Escape Society, as the music is starting to come out, it sounds awesome. Sonically, it sounds great. So you guys are working really, really good together. You can tell that it's not just a rushed thing. There's some heart and some love put into it. Yeah,
we've definitely been fairly meticulous tracking it. Mm-hmm. We're having a good time, but we're being very efficient with it as well.
What was the day of the show like when you woke up that morning? Did you bring back any like first like gig day rituals? Did you like eat a big breakfast or?
No, I had my kid with me, so I'm pretty sure it was a typical Saturday.
Oh yeah.
We'll watch him play video games while I make him breakfast, and then he promptly ignores me for the next couple of hours, and then we had to leave.
How?
It's when you get to the
do you mind if I ask how old is he?
He'll be 14 in like a week's time.
Okay, so he's never really seen you play then.
A couple of times, like if I'm backing up somebody.
Oh, okay.
Again, I'm not really playing in a project of my own. Like
cool.
This is the first. But I've been on stage a couple times. He was a lot younger. I don't know if you'd really remember it.
Right. Well, he has another chance this weekend when the Escape Society has two shows back to back because popular demand. You can't keep a good band down. I have tickets for the Saturday show.
Great.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend are going to come by and support and listen to the tunes, and I'm excited. I'm very excited to hear them. Not in a field. I want to hear them like in a. Are you guys playing inside or outside?
Inside.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear them like within the walls of a place, just so I can kind of get right. So it's right there. I find outdoor, you're just kind of outdoor, right? It sounded great. Don't get me wrong, but I want the intimacy of the thing, and that's at Stray Dog Brewery. Which is off of Trim Road here in lovely Ottawa / Orleans, Canada. So that's going to be a fun one. I guess when's the record coming out? That's the question.
You don't know? Why don't you know?
Well,
you're supposed to. I don't know.
Oh.
We have so much content in the barrel ready to fire, basically.
Yeah.
Like prepping this for a year. The full record itself, we're probably looking at late winter, early spring next year.
Okay. So here on Ego and Vice, I'm going to drop that the new Escape Society record is coming out December 25th, 2023. Bingo. It's a stocking stuffer. No, don't. None of that's real.
It's the new savior. It's going to save the world.
Yeah, it's like it won't be out for Christmas, folks. But
It'll be born in a manger.
yeah. So that's pretty fun. And yeah, take your time. I think nowadays with people's attention spans anyway, it's like you release like the whole record and they're only going to listen to a song or two at a time anyway. So I think the best way to do it is what you're doing, is releasing the singles, because I think that's the most effective way. Because me too, it's just like, oh, they're releasing a song. I was very excited about the next day because I had only heard the one song from you guys recorded. I was really excited to watch you at Hope because I asked Jay that morning. I'm like, you guys have other songs, right? And he's like, oh yeah, and it was great, and it's pretty exciting. So man, that's awesome. Buckingham Palace Audio, the Escape Society. What was the name of your project again?
Everything is Angles.
Everything is Angles, which is a very cool name too.
I was born from a street hockey game with my brother. I think we were all fucked on shrooms one night when we were in our 20s, and
sure.
I'm terrible at hockey, and he was like, "It's everything Angles, man. It's Everything is Angles." And I was like, "That's a band name."
That is a band name.
I've had it for forever, and I'm finally starting to put stuff out under that moniker, right?
No, I like it. It's very cool. Hockey games, recording studios, and inflatable rainbows. That's what it's all about. That's what rock and roll is all about, and beach balls. So, I look forward to going to see the show at Stray Dog coming up. I look forward to the future of the Escape Society and Everything is Angles. Is there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
I don't know. I don't entirely like talking about myself, so that's fine.
Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to the future with all that you got going on. I'd like to book some time. Do you record just like acoustic stuff?
I record pretty much everything. So
cool. I'm looking to just put together like a 5-song little acoustic thing that I want to do.
Hey, hit me up.
Yeah, totally.
A ton of I don't touch a lot of hip hop generally these days, but
yeah, I'm not hip hop. I basically play punk songs on a acoustic guitar. And
how long have you been doing the podcast for?
Since 2017, so six and a half years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a long time. Good for you. It's
this is technically season 6, but I don't do like I said, I don't do like an episode a week. I do like when I have something that interests me or a person that I'm interested in, just the story, I want to talk to them, and that's how I just kind of do it. I do it when I have time, and I release them when I have time, and it's like 106 episodes.
Yeah.
And I know like Joe Rogan's been on the air for 6 years, and he has 2,000 episodes, but I don't have that kind of time, or I'm not getting paid to do it. I do it as a labor of love, right? And I do it for the people that are on the show, so they have something to like play to their, hey mom, listen to what I did. I don't know. Well, I'll talk to you on Saturday anyway, when I'm in the crowd drinking my zero beer.
Actually talk in person.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Anyway, Dean, thank you so much for being on the show, and good luck with everything you do. Any last words?
Nothing important.
All right, cool, man. I will see you soon. Thank you so much for being on.
Cheers. Take care.
Time will reminisce.
Hey, I'd like to thank Dean Watson for being on Ego and Vice today, and if you get a chance, book some time in at Buckingham Palace Audio. He's a good dude. He's got lots of experience, and he'll make you sound good. Make your band sound good, even if your band ain't that good. Yeah, so anyway, this has been episode 106. If you want to listen to the podcast, you can go to Podomatic, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, all the streamers. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can reach me at egoandvice@gmail.com. If you want to be on the podcast, just drop me a line. The little DIY podcast that could. No bells, no whistles. Just Ego and Vice. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Thanks a lot. See you next time. Bye.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.